Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's on behalf of your award-winning marketing agents, Matthew, Langdon and Angela. I warmly welcome you to number 3, Neiwand Avenue, Kellyville. To those buyers that are registered to bid to buy, I wish you absolutely every success. To the family, the friends and the neighbours, we thank you for your support. The terms and conditions are here clearly on display. In the event that we decide to exercise our one and only right to place a bid on the vendor's behalf, I will clearly announce vendor bid. Other than that, buyers, I gather that the balance of the terms and conditions are read and understood. Well, turning now to the location itself, well, Kellyville. It's one of those locations which has seen exceptional capital growth with potentially more to come. It's underpinned by its standout location, being close proximity to some of the finest schools in the district, the Metro Railway, as well as Grove Square as well by way of Kellyville. I know they say it's a cliche, location, 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 but I'm sure you'll agree that Kellyville, and in particular number 3, is worthy of that title. While the stunning residence behind me here offers 5 spacious bedrooms, a seamless flow of formal and informal living flowing through to that entertainer's backyard. Well, this property ticks a lot of boxes bar one buyer, and that is who our new purchaser is going to be. I'm now handing the bidding over to you, ladies and gentlemen. Where do you see fair value? Something fair, something reasonable gets us underway. We do have a registered phone bidder that has provided us with the appropriate documentation as well. Where do you see fair value, Matthew, and your clients? I'm in your hands. Well, not all at once. I wouldn't want to confuse the bidding. Don't all rush in. First bid often doesn't purchase it. But there is an interesting stat. 72% chance of being the winning bidder if you are the first bidder. Not a gambling man, but I think they're pretty good stats to be buying here in Kellyville.
Craig, we should take $1 million.
Thank you so much, but we'll park that there. Thank you so much there. Auctioneer can decline any bids that aren't in the best interest of the homeowner. Don't take offence to it, ladies and gents, just means we're a little bit further away. Now, if you do place a bid, I may have my back to you. Make it nice and loud. I don't mean to be rude, I just can't be everywhere at once.
Greg, 1.5.
About $1,500,000 gets us underway at 1 and 5. Let's move in hundreds now. At $1,500,000, bid number 99. Welcome to bidding, sir. At $1.5 million and 1 and 5 on the money there. At $1,500,000 at 1 and 5 is the call. Let's move in hundreds now, or 50 if you like. At $1,500,000, can I say at 1.6? At $1,500,000, that's 1.5 is the call. At $1,500,000, buyers, here it goes. First time the money at 1.5. Second opportunity at 1 and 5. There won't be a fourth. You're out and done and silent, sir. At $1,500,000 at 1 and 5. Here in Kellyville, 1.6, sir. 1.6 at $1,600,000. Right place to be. At 1.6 on the money there. Bid number 13 and 6. Sorry, I have selective hearing. It's always higher. At 1.5 and 50, I'll take that, sir. Lucky Matthew Langdon's with you. At 1.5 and 50, that's 1.5 and a half on top and 50. At 1,550,000 at 1.5 and 50. Right reply, sir. What do you say? Straight to 1.6. At $1.5 million and a 5 and a 50 on top there at 1.5 and 50. At 1,550,000, I call for 1.6. Another 50 on top, sir. Good value buying. You tell me. At $1,550,000 as it goes in the first call. Second, $1,600,000. Bidder number 56. If you can pass the patter. Number 56 at $1,600,000 at 1 and 6. At 1.6 million, you're in for 1.5, sir. Do we say 1.6 and 50? At 1,600,000, straight ahead there, 56. Over there in the gutter, but you won't be living there. At 1,600,000. Want to tempt you back in, sir, at 1.6 and 50. At 1,600,000 on my left. Second bidder there, 1.6 and 50. Worth it every day of the week. Think of the family running around, building your new life here, sir. At 1,600,000 on my left, do I say 1.6 and 50? At 1,600,000. First call at 1.6. Second time on the money, 1.6 and 50. Oh, if Doctor is a pushover, he'll take the 25 at 1.6 and 2.5. At 16 and 25, he's short my stride at 1.6 and a quarter. A quarter on top there at 1,625,000. At 1.6 and 2.5. You've been very quiet there, sir. Can I tempt you into the 25? At 1.6 and 2.5, that'll be 1.6 and 50. 1,625,000. 16 and 25 is the call. First time the money, Vince, at 16 and 25. Second opportunity at 1 million. 1,650,000. Welcome back in, sir. At 1,650. 16 and 75, or can you make a statement, sir, at 1,7? At 1,650,000. First time the money at 1,650. Second opportunity at 1,650,000. It's our opening bidder. It's our starter, Vince. At 1,650. Make a statement, might I suggest? 50,000. 1,700,000. At 1,650,000. At 16 and 50 is the call. That's 1,650,000. 1,700, Vince. 1,700,000. At 1,650,000. Perhaps they see better value at 16 and 75. At 1,650,000. It could and should be yours. 1,650,000. It's with you. At 1,650,000. Can we say 1,700,000, sir? 1,675,000. Thank you for your spirited bidding. If you don't ask, you don't know. 1,650,000. 650.
Would you take a 10?
Won't be taking a 10, but round it up to the 25. Double it, Matthew, double it, we'll call it a day at 16 and 70. At 1,600,000. At 1,675,000. At 16 and 75, Matthew. $1,675,000 as it goes by as on the first call. Second opportunity, Matthew. 1,675,000. 1,600,000. So Matthew bid 1,675,000 to the right. At 1,675. 1,675,000. 1,700,000, sir. Make a statement, raise the number identifier at 1,675. It's with you. 1,675 and 16 and 75. Can I suggest a quarter? 1,700,000, sir. 1,675,000 as it goes, Matthew. 1,675. First opportunity at 16 and 75. Second opportunity at 1,675,000. You may need that paddle, sir, just to keep it close to you. 1,675,000 for the third call.
Would you take 1,680, Craig?
Can we double, Matthew? Can we double it to a 10? 1,680. 1,685,000. At 16 and 85, rounded up to 1,700,000, sir. 1,685,000 at 16 and 85. See where the gentleman sees fair value. Another 15 there at 1 and 7, perhaps. 1,685,000. He's made two bids. First, second. 1,700,000. Welcome back in, sir. 1,700,000. At 1.7 is the call on the right-hand side. Right reply, sir. $1,700,000 at 1 and 7. Sorry, Mustafa. I was that phone bidder of yours has been very quiet. I hope they're not waiting for those words on the market. I rarely use them. At 1,700,000, the bidding is with you. At 1.7 on the right. 1,700,000. First opportunity, sir. Second time the money. $1.7 million. For the third and final opportunity at 1,700,000 as the contract rises at 1 million. Whew, okay. Okay, Note Matthews asked for a moment in deep discussions there in the porch. How is it under the porch? Get used to that there, because this could be your new home. Beautiful setting there. 1.7 is the current bid. I'll take a 10. Why not? Let's do it. Let's get a 10. Let's get a 10. 1,700,000 and let's raise that paddle. Yes. 1,710,000. Bidder number 77. 1, 7 and 10 here, Vince. At 1,710,000. At 17 and 10 is the call. I'll take a 5. Let's do it. At 1,715,000. At 1,715 and 15 there. Auctioneer Scott wants to do a deal today. 1,715. It is with you. It's our second starter. At 1,715 and 15 with you, sir. First time the money at 7 and 15. Second opportunity, 1,715,000 and 15. Third, Angela, $1,715,000. They made one bid. Surely they're good for another bid. 1,720,000. 1.7 and 20 directly behind me at 1,720,000. Sir, make a statement. 1,750,000. Number 30. Oh, that's a smile. 1,720,000. At 1.7 and 20 behind me. At 1.7 and 20, where do we go from here? Been very quiet there in the gutter. At 1.7 and 20, can I tempt them in at 1.7 and 50, Matthew? At 1.7 and 20 here. At 1,720,000. At 17 and 20 is the call. 1.7 here. Single level brilliance. 650 square metres. Buyers, we're probably just scraping over land value. We're getting a free house. At 1,720,000, 1,720. At 1.7, Matthew, there was a bit of a nod of the head there from the gentleman.
I saw it too, Craig.
That's right. Those glasses, the glasses though, you can never be sure. At 1,720,000, 720 there, 1,720. At 1720 behind me. Matthew, I need to know. Yeah, 1,725. That'd be it at 1,725 and 1,7 and a quarter there. At 1,725 and 17 and 25, calling for a 35, another 10. At 1,725,000. At 1.7 and 25, 1.7 and a quarter. What's the money? Second opportunity, Angela. 17 and 25. 1,730. Welcome back in, sir. At 1.7 and 30. Second opportunity here over there at 1.7 and 30. One time the money at 1,730,000. Second opportunity, Vince, at 17 and 30. And a bid at 1,730,000. As it goes for the third time, it goes at 1,730,000. It goes, Angela, and we sell at 1.7 and 30.
Wait.
Right now. We're on the market. We are selling. In the absence of any further bids, and we sell to you, sir. Mr. Philip Kelly, can I confirm the bid? $1,730,000. What's the money? Twice the call. Third and final opportunity, Philip, at $1,730,000. As it goes, and we sell at $1,730,000. The contract's rising. There's buyers to the left and the right. If only I had eyes in the side of my head. At 1.7 and 30,000, the bid has been confirmed. The contract 1.7 and 35. Philip Kelly at 1,735,000. Bid of 56. At 17 and 35, 17 and 50, sir. At 1,735. Yeah. 1.7 and 35. Bid up 56. At 17 and 35, can I suggest 17 and 50, Matthew, at 1,735,000, 1.7 and 50, sir. Make that statement at 1.7 and $35,000. Once 17 and 40. Yep, 1,740,000, 17 and 40 behind me. At 1.7 and 40, have a consideration, sir. No second places here. Only first place at 1,740,000 at 1.7 and 40. Once the money fits. Second opportunity, 1,740,000. Third, final opportunity, 1,740,000. At 1.7 and 40. At 1,750. I was about to congratulate him with a strong bid. At 1,745,000. Best of luck with you, sir. Beautiful family there. At 17 and 45 to my right. Once the money at 17 and 45. We welcome you home, sir. Second opportunity at 1,745,000. Third opportunity at a bid at 1,745,000 at 17.50. At 1.7 and a half. At 17 and 50 behind me. 1.7 and 5. 1.7 and a half and 17.50 is the call. Calling for another 50 to make that big strong statement at 1 and 8. 1,750,000. 1.8, sir.
5, Craig.
At 1,755. 77. That's 17 and 55 behind me. Number 77. It's our late starter. 1.7 and 55, and the money is here once. That'd be it at 17 and 55. The money's there twice. Third opportunity, Vince, at 17 and 55. We go, we sell, we are selling.
Over here.
What was the call? 17. 1,760. At 17 and 60, thank you, sir. At 1.7 and 60, second starter made that statement showing that he wants the property. At 1.7 and 60, first opportunity, Vince. Second time the money at 17 and 60, Kale. At 1,760,000. Confirm, sir. You're out. Had the two bids done. Thank you for your spirited bidding.
Craig, 5K.
At 1,765. At 17 and 65, bid of 31. 1.7 and 65 behind me near the garage. At 17 and 65, right reply, sir. At 1.7 and 65, welcome. Welcome. It's our late starter. At 17 and 65, keep an eye on that one, Philip Kelly. At 17 and 65, in good hands with Mustafa. 1.7 and 65 over there in the gutter. At 1.7 and 65. At 17 and 65, Matthew, see where they see value? What might I suggest? 1,800,000. At 1.7 and 65. Okay, 1770. Okay. A little bit less than what I suggested, but we'll accept that bid. Bidder number 13, 1,770,000. At 17 and 70, there is the call. At 17 and 70 on the money, at 17 and 70 Vince. At 1.7 and 70 on the money, can I suggest a 31.8? At 17 and 70 once. At 1,770,000 twice.
1.78.
1,780, double that last bid, 31. At 1.7 and 80 and 1780 is the call. At 1780 over here to my right. At 17 and 80 do we say 1,800,000. At 17 and 80, double the bid to make it a 20 to 1.8. At 1.7 and 80. I'll take it. That's against my advice to make that bid, mate. Just raise the car. 1,781,000, thank you, sir. At 17 and 81. At 1.7 and 81, here to my right, we say in 1.8. At $1,781,000. I don't believe it, he's bought it for $1,000. 1,780,000. 1,785. At 1.7 and 85. At 1.7 and 85 behind me. At 1,785,000, we say 86, sir. At 1.7 and 85, once the money. At 17 and 85, twice. At 1.7 and 85, do we say 1.7 and 86? Third and final opportunity, 1.7 and 86. At 1.7 and 86, rounded up to 1.7 and 90. At 1,786,000, still bidding rise there. At 1.7 and 86, he shook his head and he's out. And the bidding is with you, sir. In the absence of further bids, and we sell to you. At $1,786,000. At 1.7 and 86, confirm the bid, Philip. We're done. We're selling. On the market. Once the money, twice the call. At 17 and 86, contract rises. Third and final opportunity, 1,787,088. At 17 and 88 is the call. At 17 and 88, rounded up to 17 and 90. At 1 million, yeah, that's 1,788,000. 2,000. 1,790,000. Yeah, okay, raise the good bidding. At 1,790,000, thank you, sir. At 17 and 90 behind me, Mustafa. At 17 and 90, here to the left, on the left there, 1.7 and 90. At 17 and 90, do we say 1.8? In good hands with Kale and Mustafa there. Well, let's pull it away at 1,790,000. Good luck, sir. First time the money at 17 and 90. Second opportunity, $1,790,000. Third and final call at a bid of $1,790,000. The contract rises, and we go.
One second,
we hand the keys at $1,790,000. 1.7 and 90. 1,792 at 1,792,000. 92,000 is the call. Do we say 96, sir? At 1,792,000, make another statement at 1.8. At 1,792,000, 792. $1,792,000. A lot of home, but not a lot of money. At 1.7 and 92. 1.8. Matthew, show them what 1.8 looks like written down. It's not that scary. At 1,792,000. Angela, your clients here have gone quiet. Confirm that they are confirmed at their highest bid. At 1,792,000. I'll call it away, buyers. First time the money at 1.7 and 92. Second opportunity at 17 and 92, buyers. Third. Once. 1,795,000. At 1.7 and 95. Confirm where your clients are positioned, Kale, as we sell. At 1.7 and 95. First time the money at 17 and 95. Second opportunity, buyers at 1,795,000. Third. Final opportunity, Vince. Can you confirm? Okay, I'll take that as a done. Thank you for your spirited bidding. 1,795,000. Thank you for your participation, sir. 1.7 and 95, we're on the market, we're selling. Contract rises has been called away 3 times. We are selling. We are selling for $1,795,000 on behalf of Matthew Langdon, Angela Stewart, Ray White, Castle Hill. We sell. We sell. And we are.
Just a second, Craig.
Okay, a second. Been on the market 4 weeks. A second will be okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're thinking of certainly selling your property, any of those neighbours, you can see no stone is left unturned when it comes to selling Sydney real estate with Matthew Langdon and Angela of Ray White Castle Hill, ensuring that each purchaser has had their absolute best opportunity. At 1,795, our second starter. He's been with us every step of the way. At 17.95, Matthew, I need to know. 1.7 and 95 at 17 and 95. Matthew's going to say stop. The contract will not stop. 1,795,000. I've called it away. It sells. It sells. At 1,800,000. Welcome back in 1.8 and finish my sentence, sir. At $1,800,000 and 1.8 and 5, perhaps. At 1,800,000 at 1.8, I knew we'd get there. Can we say 1.8 and 5 on top? At 1,800,000 at 1.8 is the money bidder number 13. You tell me where to go. At 1,800,000 at 1.8 is the call. First time the money at 1 and 8. Second opportunity at 1,800,000. And spin it round. Yep, thank you. At 1,801,000 is the call. At 1.8 and 1, it looks like the $1,000 has done it. At 1,801,000, 1.8 and 1 is the call. At 1.8 and $1,000 in the heart of Kellyville, walk to the Metro shopping precinct, stunning schools, beautiful day. What a day to be buying Sydney real estate. Once the money, twice the call. Third final opportunity at $1,801,000. As it goes, Mr. Matthew Langdon. Do I sell, Matthew? Do I sell? Matthew? This contract gets very heavy. You know that, Matthew? It does just suddenly fall. 1,801,000. They're our highest bidders. And we are? Mustafa? So, congratulations. To our underbidders, thank you so much for your participation. And those neighbours and friends and family, thank you for your support. And well, our eventual bidders, well bought and highly sought and fought. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend, ladies and gents.